Sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McClerney, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health, heard every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, where each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we always encourage you to call in to join in. Today, we're going to open them up for you today. Going to talk a little bit about clot busting. You'll see what I mean by that. So actually needs to be an integral part of everyone's cardiovascular preventative program. I'll elaborate a bit on that. You may elaborate on anything that you have a fancy to elaborate about. 412-825-6262 for your elaboration number. And you can give us a call. Knock on the door with that number, and we'll let you on in. Find out what's on your mind. You can talk about anything on your mind. Ask a question, make a comment. Any previous guests, any up-and-coming, whatever on your mind is okay with me. 412-825-6262, as well as a discussion about clot busting today. Now, I hope you enjoyed. I really did enjoy it. It looked as though you all do have an interest out there. We had Eric Shapiro on with us. He has a strong Pittsburgh connection, we found out, but he also has a good command of a topic that it was intriguing to me to hear it. I realized that I never had a guest on this show talking about aging issues, about gerontology, and I felt that Dr. Shapiro really brought some concepts to the table that need to be brought here, especially with this baby boomer generation just hitting the floodgates. I mean, this was the year it all began in terms of the baby boomers arriving to the Medicare ages, and so the numbers are just going to be amazing in terms of how many additionals will enter the senior category. By the way, no, he gave us a new definition of seniors. Seniors 70 and up. Golden oldies, whatever he called the 60s, I don't know. But there are issues they have to confront in your own aging process. And then quite a bit of time was spent talking about the aging issues that are coming up right now with your parents. So I mentioned the book once again, A New Wrinkle, What I Learned from Older People Who Never Acted Their Age, by Eric Shapiro. You can get it on Amazon.com. Also, you can go to this website. It's his business site, www.agingmentorservices.com. www.agingmentorservices.com. And we'll bring Dr. Shapiro back. I told him, a couple months we'll come on back and pick up where we left off, if you know what I mean. Other things, some things I want to get out of the way. Fruit of the Spirit, hey, look, that number, 800-442-3793 for you to get. And if you want to try it, come on out. We're just checking our inventory. We have a couple bottles we still pull out for patients and guests and those who come here who want to try and get a swig of, taste of Fruit of the Spirit to just see if that taste issue that we say is so excellent meets with your taste buds. Really not found anyone that felt that it didn't, but hey, it was always the first. Come on in and get a free swig of that stuff. And also, if it's just too far for you to do just that, call in 800-442-3793. This is a liquid, great tasting substance. 14 biblical fruit purees. Throw in some alkalized minerals from the Dead Sea. Add to that some herbs of frankincense and myrrh, and then just top it all off with resveratrol quite a bit. 1 ounce is enough. 5 servings of fruits and vegetables in terms of its antioxidant capability. So there you go on that one. Also, too, by the way, those who are techie-minded, fruitspirit.net is where to also get in on that, and we hope you take us up on our offer. And we still offer, remember, come on in to see us, and we'll make sure you get some a free taste of some of that stuff, so you can make your decision and make it a little easier. Also, too, CR chips, the transparent holographic chips. I have yet to book a representative from the company. I need to talk about those 2 new entries into the field. You already knew about these chips that you place on the skin that are impregnated with a hologram that's impregnated with information and energy, and following Oriental medicine meridian energy balancing approach, I think it's pretty much a mouthful right there, is able to do a heck of a job on previously only 3. They made 3 chips initially, 1 for pain problems. I've seen that work amazingly rapid. I think it was the greatest thing to say about that. Now, remember, it doesn't fix whatever is provoking the pain. You got to know that ahead of time and realize that there's nothing serious going on that requires medical attention. And once you're sure of it, for instance, if you have arthritis, look, there's not going to be anything coming around to rescue you. But you'd hate to mask over some abdominal pain complaint for which you've never had before, and for which there might be a sign, that may be a sign of something more serious. So you have to watch how you pick and choose this. You're allowed to make these decisions on your own to get relief, but you won't fix the problem. You'll just mask it. But you will get relief. Other 2 is another chip made previously is the one for getting rest for sleep, better said, and then 1 for energy. 2 new entrants into the field: a chip for EMF, electromechanical fields, which is, we're bombarded with this kind of energy all the time. Then finally, it's a double packet, 2 chips inside of it, both of which are used for the bothersome aggravations of athletic training. And it's odd because I had a couple patients when I was putting these chips up. People say, "Could I have one for when I get done running?" And I went, why not? I didn't seem to be too far afield or far upstream, but now there's actually one for when you get done running that you'll want to find out more about. I'll bring a representative from the company to you. The CR chips you can get at the website www.drcourtney, that's with a D-R, C-O-U-R-T-N-E-Y, drcourtney.ciara, C-I-E-A-U-R-A.com. That's www.drcourtney.ciara.com. Wanted to mention, I got a phone call just the other day from Thomas Levy. Now, Tom Levy, brilliant cardiologist, originally associated with Hal Huggins, left cardiology way back in the 70s and 80s, co-authored a few books with Hal. Hal is that dentist that discovered the issues with mercury amalgam fillings, root canals, cavitation. That's all Hal Huggins, but it was done for the most part in collaboration with Tom Levy. He then matriculated, I guess we'll use that word, to the country of Colombia. It's where he lives now. But every so often he comes back to the United States. He is back now. Talked to him the other day. He's going to be up there. Now get a load of this. Tonight, it's completely off base for the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy group that usually, I say usually, meets the 3rd Thursday of a month. Well, they've blown this all up. It really has changed. It's now the last Wednesday, that's tonight, special because he's in the country and he can make it tonight. So it's Wednesday, that's tonight. Usual time was 7:30. It's no longer. It's 7 o'clock. It's at the Days Inn, Route 8, just south of Butler. Now, that remains the same, but you're going to have a chance to hear a gentleman, a brilliant guy, develop a product called Lipo-C, which takes into account the fat solubility problem that comes with vitamin C, because vitamin C, of course, being water soluble, very poorly absorbed. Therefore, that's why there's a bowel tolerance when you take, anything over 4,000 milligrams a day or 5,000. Pretty much is going to be accompanied with watery stool, at least loose stool. Anything much above that, frankly, is going to be accompanied with diarrhea. But in the liposomal products, of which there are a few, obviously you develop one, that isn't a problem. Now we get a new product out, was talking about, and I promised to bring him on the show. He left me his email address. I'll get a hold of him while he's in the country, and we'll bring him on board. Unfortunately, he told me he's just leaving the house right now, wherever that is, on his way inbound to Pittsburgh, and that's why we can't have him on the show today. But I want to take particular time to mention that for those that attend these meetings anyway, and maybe a little misguided, wondering why there wasn't a meeting last Thursday, that's because it's this Wednesday. It's tonight, 7 o'clock, days in. Thomas E. Levy, M.D. and J.D. He's a lawyer and a doctor, so he can have fights with himself. That I would agree. Okay, let's get that out of the way. All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a short break? In the interim, you just may decide to dial us up, 412-825-6262. As I say, anything on your mind is okay with me. You can set the agenda from the get-go. We'll talk a bit about, I was pulling out Jimmy Roberts' book the other day and got on this subject. I use it a lot in the office, and hey, I really haven't talked about it on the air much, so I'll talk about it a bit today. Clot busting. Be back in a moment. See you then.
Dr. Courtney,
Uh-huh.
question, and you may have mentioned this there in your opening when I wasn't paying attention. Are you going to do a live show on Friday or not?
You know what? Let's not. I'll tell you after the show which one to play. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Good. Thanks. I didn't think about that, but that's pretty good bet.
Okay.
All right.
If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, M.D. is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Have you been to the doctor lately? What's the big top of your complaint list? Even if your doctor asks you what you eat, the recommended 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day is a dream in your busy schedule. What if you learned of a product 5 years in a formulation that delivers 5 servings of fruits and minerals in just 1 ounce? That's right, it's Fruit of the Spirit. The blessings of Fruit of the Spirit are now formulated into a delicious whole fruit puree product rich in antioxidants and minerals. Your health is more than just a test result. It's a balance of physical, spiritual, and emotional factors. You work regularly to strengthen your faith. Let Fruit of the Spirit help cover your nutritional needs in a convenient and cost-effective ounce a day. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, 5 servings of fruits and minerals with no added sugars. That's 1-800-442-3793 for your good health. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Heard here on KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you on this last day of the month, 31st March. We switched the page. Oh, my God, tomorrow's April Fool's Day. I'm giving you forewarning. Anything crazy happening tomorrow, you got to be thinking of that thing first. But we do turn the page and move into the month of April. By the way, Friday, and I'll say that be another reason to give us a call on this show. Not going to be doing a live show here. If you've got a mind to want to listen to one of the previous shows that you went, I wish I could hear that one again, why don't you utilize the time today, 412-825-6262, to put in your 2 cents on which show repeat you would like to hear, and we can help spin that one for you. Today, We're allowing you to set the agenda in many ways. You can set the entire topic agenda here by giving us a call at that 412-825-6262 number. I'll be waiting for your little knock at the door and let you into the store. When you do knock, anything on your mind is okay with me. Now, I had dusted off, and believe me, there was some dust on it because I had it on the bookshelf, and I hadn't seen it for a while. But I've been trying to communicate with Dr. James Roberts' office. He, of course, is that really excellent cardiologist. He hails from Toledo, Ohio. We've had him on the show many times. A personal friend of mine, as well as an intellect in the medical field. That's just a shining, bright star. He combined efforts with Dr. Stephen Sinatra. Wrote a book a number of years back. We literally launched the book here on the show, Reverse Heart Disease Now at the book. I talked to so many of you who actually have copies of the book, and if you have a copy, I think I always say arm yourself when you go visit your conventional doctor. Have that in hand, because so much of what you might like to discuss, you're going to be fighting for a resource to describe to your doctor, which backs you up on why you're asking for this or that, or asking this question or that question. Anyway, and dusting the thing off and going through it as I oftentimes do, the issue of clot busting comes up. Now, I mention it almost in passing too often, but I say and have said and will continue to say and will say right now that although we do many things here to try to put them in categories, with respect to cardiovascular disease, there are four edges, four bonuses that we're going to work on here in my practice that won't ever get touched by the conventional medical community. Many of you sitting out there are on blood pressure medicines or on a whole host of other medicines. You have your own doctors, have your own cardiologists, I'm sure. But no matter where you might be going to be receiving medical care, there are four aspects of that care that just aren't going to happen in a conventional setting. Quickly, they are, first, dealing with your inflammation issues, and that's those 8 real special lab tests. I've given those out many times on the air. They're not even called for whenever blood work is done. So how could you ever deal with something for 2 reasons? One, if you never get a lab test to know where you stand, and number 2, I think the sleight of hand comment is, hey, the reason that you don't get the lab test is because there is no medication, thank God, to correct those 8 factors. 7 of the 8, at least. There's only a medicine to correct the 1. Unfortunately, way overplayed, that's the cholesterol. So inflammation issues are something that we are quite proud of dealing with here. We call them risk factors, and we have to change every single one of them. Number 2 is your plaque deposition process. We intervene in a way that the conventional medical community say is not possible, can't happen, waste of time, waste of money. It's called chelation therapy. I'm here to tell you, oh yes, it can. And we have a steady diet of both IV and oral forms of chelation therapy. Number 3, flow, increasing flow, and that comes and brings to the table this interesting little procedure that we do. Although a conventional one, although this procedure is FDA approved, it's insurance covered, that's fine, but if it's not available, it could be all those things, and you'll never be able to be referred to it. But that thing called ECP, external counterpulsation, we've talked in the past month, at least, a couple of times. You have a lot of interest there. Okay, so the fourth of the things that we end up doing is dealing with clots. So I'm going to spend a moment today looking through Jimmy Roberts' book. He spends a good amount of time talking about clot busting himself. And of course, I've often kidded with Jimmy when we've had him on the air that, Jimmy, I could have wrote this book with you, not Stephen Sinatra, except you probably wouldn't have sold a copy because you both are cardiologists. And so it's the fact that you are in the anointed position that allows you to write such a book and have people want to buy it. But I say that tongue-in-cheek because many of the concepts in the book are ones that we were doing way before the book was ever written, but sure like to see it in print. One of the things that you out there who want to deal and get that edge that you're not going to get in conventional treatment is dealing with clots. Now, as it turns out, there are situations where clots become even more prominent and more prevalent. Things like, well, you could have a genetic proclivity to developing clots. You could, as you age and are less active, have, and so it goes hand in hand, aging and lack of exercise. Very high hematocrit levels. If hematocrit increases by 10%, the viscosity of the blood can go up by 20%. Too much iron in the blood, that's at ferritin level, deformed red blood cells, environmental toxins, the list goes on and on and on. If you have something like a prosthetic valve, or if you have a history of stroke or AFib, these are the three actually etched in granite reasons for also putting people on that nasty drug called Coumadin, which is, it's not a clot buster. It is an anticoagulant that won't allow you to clot at all. That's the danger behind it. Anyway, I used to keep on my desk an article. Article was from the front page of the New York Times. And this is a number of years ago. But to make it to the front page of the New York Times, it had to be sort of important. I thought it was. And I used to call upon this article whenever I was meeting with a patient talking about cardiovascular disease and what we should do about it. Essentially, the article, which was written by a bunch of high up in the hierarchy academic cardiologists from a number of institutions, and the byline of the article went like this. It had two main points. First point, they said, you know what, we've been talking about for years now what a heart attack is. And we have to say that we've been telling you a description of what a heart attack is, but unfortunately, that's not really what it is. So we're going to take this time now as a group of cardiologists to apologize for telling an untruth. And we've been saying that for years and years and years. What happens is that you build up plaque on the inside of a blood vessel, that as the years go by, the plaque keeps getting to be more and more and more and more and more, that the lumen of that blood vessel decreases proportionately to the amount of plaque that continues to accumulate, and 40%, 50%, 80%, 90% include. Finally, a blood vessel can get so much plaque in it that it closes off completely, 100%. And they said, when that happens in the heart, that is a heart attack. When that happens in the brain, that's called a stroke. When that happens in another organ, that's called an infarct. And we're here to tell you, folks, the academic cardiology community of the country, that unfortunately that is not true. Now, it was a nice story. Everybody could follow it. They kept thinking about the plumbing in their bathroom, how, yeah, if those pipes get corroded coming in or going out, I got trouble. But the issue of an event, they said, is not caused by the collection of plaque in a vessel. They said, and here comes the second part of the article, the main impact point, that events are caused by clots, not by clogs. And so we're very sorry that we've been telling an untruth. We felt it was time to correct the record, to tell it straight, to tell it like it is. And here we are doing that today, and it's made the front page of the New York Times, and it should have, and it needed to, because that story about the corrosion and collection of plaques leading to such a clogged blood vessel, although clogs do cause symptoms, clots cause events. And so you can't have a program to help lessen the impact of cardiovascular disease unless you have a anti-clot component. You've got to have it in there. Now, the conventional medical community, in a way, has it in there, but it certainly in another way does not. They're left and they're saddled with the fact that the only tool they have in the clot busting department is a major clot buster. Not a mild clot buster, not an easy on the system clot buster. It is a major drug. It's called TPA, tissue plasminogen activator. We don't have to get into that. But TPA, if you wind up in an emergency room in one of the outlier hospitals, a hospital that doesn't have a cath lab in it, and they're lucky enough to get you within the first 2 hours of having an event, whether that be a stroke or a heart attack, you're going to be administered TPA IV, and more than likely, it is going to bust that clot. That's how effective that stuff is. Interestingly, this costs thousands of dollars a dose, which probably isn't the big issue. Another interesting sidelight is you're only allowed to have that stuff one time, because it sets up the potential for an immunological reaction if you ever should have to have it again. But thank God we have TPA. Thank God if you're in an outlier hospital, it will be administered. And the likelihood is, if within the first 2 hours of an event, it more than likely is going to rescue you from really a lot of damage that would occur if that blood vessel isn't reopened. The fact that a clot rapidly occluded an area of vasculature is the problem, and you got to break up that clot. Now, great as they have a major clot buster, they are left without any minor or mild clot busters. There just is no clot busting agent in the conventional medical world. They have platelet slimers. Big fancy word for that is platelet aggregation inhibitors. Things like Plavix, Persantine, aspirin are all meant to put a coat of slime on top of platelets to prevent the formation of a clot, but absolutely can do nothing about any clots that have been previously formed. These clots linger around the edges of the plaque that's accumulated in vessel and can break off at any time. They have to be broken up mildly. There is no mild clot buster in the conventional medical world, and so they're left with doing the only thing they can do, which is trying to prevent additional clot from forming, which is a good thing, unfortunately, or fortunately, as we would have it. There are other ways of getting equal amounts of protection without using those drugs at all. But what about the clot busting activity? Well, here's where the little chapter that I flipped through Dr. Jimmy Roberts' book entitled Reversing Heart Disease Now. He went at length at talking about the two mild clot busters that can be taken without a prescription at all. They work wonderfully as a daily regime. They can work within the context of an event. They can work with the anticipation of a preventative. But there are two. One, and probably the most well-known, is something called nattokinase. Comes from a fermented soy products. And two, Beluga lumbrokinase, which comes from earthworms. They are both mild clot busters. I happen to prefer the Beluga. Everybody seems to know a lot about natto. Anyway, taken as a daily regime, it is an excellent way to break up clots so as never to allow them to grow to a size that, should they dislodge from where they are, they could provoke a major ligament. Clot busting is a major component, I believe, to developing a strategy to protect you in cardiovascular disease. It cannot be a strategy used by the conventional medical community for two reasons. One, they have no medicine for it, and they don't recognize that something like nattokinase or lumbrokinase, I think, even exists, if I'm gauging it right. But even if they're aware that they exist, they probably don't think much of their ability to break up clots at all. So I mention it to you today. I say, hey, look, this is absolutely something that you should consider in your own regime. If you ever come to visit us, want to talk about your cardiovascular issues, we are surely going to talk about it and place you on a regime of this. I have a number of people who are on Coumadin, and I got to say, legitimately placed on Coumadin because they're in one of those three etched in granite reasons. Either they have a prosthetic valve, either they have had a recent stroke, or they have AFib. These are three etched in granite reasons that the conventional medical community will place somebody on Coumadin and literally leave them on it forever. I can't tell you how many people who come to me on Coumadin wanted to be off of it, and they're asking, is there any strategy at all that can allow me to get off it? And I'll use Jimmy Roberts as my backup here and say to you, there absolutely is, and it's got to include these mild clot busters on the long haul. So now I've put in my 2 cents. I've given you another bit of an education from an aspect I don't believe I ever covered before. It's that fourth edge, so correcting your inflammation factors, removing plaque through the use of chelation therapy, increasing flows through the use of ECP, and then finally breaking up these clots is the fourth way that I believe we can intervene and help in the cardiovascular setting that just is not going to happen in the conventional medical realm, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, and I hope you've been benefited by that little discussion, that little chit-chat. Okay, clot busters, put away for a while. As I say, don't ever remember talking about it before. Glad to get it off my chest. Let's do this. Let's take a short break. In the interim, maybe you'll have a question about clot busters. Maybe you don't have it about clot busters, but have it about something else. Maybe it's just a comment in general. 412-825-6262. We will be back in a moment.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in wondrous ways, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was 5 years in the formulation, the work of a team of top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the praises of Fruit of the Spirit. Give your loved ones the blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instructions, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942.
Yes.
There's one call waiting, and I won't keep you for that one call.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to AM Impact on Your Health here on KHB 620. Of course, we're with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. Today, last day of the month of March, we're with you today. It's beautiful outside and going to be 70s today, maybe going into 80s tomorrow. Unbelievable. Hey, we're not out of the woods yet, but enjoy it while you can. We enjoy being with you today, allowing you to set the agenda. Anything on your mind is okay with me. 412-825-6262 is the number to get on in here and get it off your chest. In the interim, we did have a caller or two who took us up on our request. They're with us right now. Let's say good morning. Hello. Welcome aboard. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Dr.
Hi.
Courtney. My question is regarding Raymond France's appearance there. He had mentioned that he checked the health of his arteries using Doppler ultrasound and echocardiogram. Do I have that correct?
They are two checks that are non-invasive and I wholeheartedly support. And I asked him what he was using to measure, and he did say Dopplers, yes.
Okay. Is that, as I understand, that can give you a pretty accurate and general idea of the condition and health of your arteries, as opposed to an angiogram, which of course is very invasive.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, go right ahead and ask your full question.
Well, and I would think that the purpose of the angiogram, or one of the purposes, is to specifically find the problem area as opposed to a general diagnosis, which the Doppler would do. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, I would say they do angiography. For the most part, 90% of the time, it's in a what they believe to be a pressing, urgent situation to look into the blood vessels of the heart. So angiograms are not used because they have to use the catheter to go in because the chest wall doesn't allow to do it in a non-invasive way. Now they claim that there are procedures such as MRAs, which are magnetic resonance angiographies, which allow a beating heart to actually produce a picture. Yet I'm not really convinced that that's a good study. I don't see anybody using that in place of the angiogram. The benefit of the Doppler is that there are a number of places, but three in particular: the neck, the groin, and behind the knee. These are three areas where arteries come close to the skin, and that a probe just placed on top of them is able, through some scientific means, which I don't understand, are able to tell us how much occlusion are found in those vessels. Now, they're just representative arteries, but the likelihood is, as an artery, if you've got 30 or 40% plaque in your carotids, you could just about take it to the bank that you got at least 30 or 40% everywhere. You got 30 or 40% occlusion of your coronary vessels too. So you extrapolate out by looking at arteries in a non-invasive way through the use of Dopplers and try to get a gauge and a bead on how much occlusion you have. I will tell you that the normal fluff words that are used by the conventional medical community are words like mild, moderate, and severe, okay? I've told my techs that come in here with Dr. Caminos, I don't want those fluff words. I want an actual percentage of occlusion because I intend, no matter what the percentage is, I intend to reverse that and move that number back. So the fluff word of moderate, mild, moderate, and severe doesn't work for me. It turns out, unless you specifically ask for percentages, you're not going to get it that way, when in actuality, it's perfectly possible to gauge that, but you have to ask for it specifically. Have I answered your question okay?
You have answered my question, and that brings on another one.
Go ahead.
If I may. Is it, since I don't have the benefit because of distance of utilizing your services, going to a traditional doc, are they going to allow you to have the Doppler done versus an angio? Yeah.
Of course, if you're going to your doctor for an evaluation, he needs to stay, and he will, within the boundaries of non-invasive and only work to the invasive when you demonstrate that you require it. So you'd have to have something like chest pain, a sudden change of your ability to perform activities, shortness of breath that you didn't have before. If you had these kind of symptoms, then you could see the conventional doctor moving toward the more aggressive and invasive. But as a routine, no, these are quite acceptable to ask for, and you probably won't have to ask for them. It probably, at a good workup, just automatically do them. However, if it wasn't asked for or recommended by him, you should request it, and you have to emphasize, look, could you please specifically request the percentage of occlusion be given, not the fluff words, of mild, moderate, and severe, because they do not tell the story sufficiently. I guess the other thing I'll add is, because the conventional medical community, I know I'm a part of it, doesn't think there's any way to ever reverse this plaque, to them, if you had 20% occlusion today, you wouldn't even make a mention of it. If it was 30 or 40%, it just lodges in your mind. You make a mental note. You probably, at 50% occlusion, say, oh, yeah, we're starting to get some plaque. Still won't. The 70% occlusion is finally where the doctor says, you know what, you got some plaque in that vessel. One of these days soon, we're going to have to do something about it. The day soon is when you hit 90. At 90%, something absolutely has to be done. But all that time was wasted because the doctor didn't feel there was ever any way to remove plaque. There certainly is a way. It's called chelation therapy, and that's why if you're 15 or 20 or 25, that number is awful important to me, because 6 months from now, it better be less than when we started. Do I make my point?
You made your point so well, I don't even have to ask the last question.
Okay. I'm glad the question was appropriate, right on. I'm glad you asked them all.
Thanks.
You're so welcome. Okay. Yes, tend to do that occasionally. Hey, I'm knock at the door. Come on, the store. Hello, and welcome in.
Yes, morning, Dr. Courtney.
Hello.
Going back to the Raymond Francis concept, what tests would, of the deficiencies, what tests would you recommend a person have done, I guess, to, I explain this, to show heart deterioration, or the cause of heart deterioration, cellular deterioration?
Yeah, well, you got, I think you find in the four little edges there the answer to that question. So if you just think a bit, the causes for heart and blood vessel deterioration go right back to the four things I started my discussion with today. Number one, what are your inflammation factors? Now, if you don't have those labs, it's a lab test, it's a blood test. There are 8 things in your blood that matter. Yet the conventional medical community will only ever look at one of them and never ask for the other 7. That's a problem. That's a real problem, because all 8 of those factors can lead to tremendous damage to the lining of arteries. So that's number one. Number two?
Well, that's I guess brings up the question there is there any one or combination of like HSC reactive?
Oh, so okay, it appears like you know some of them.
Would they be like a predictor of, you say you have like a red flag, you have a problem here, you need to...
Yeah, two points I'll make about that question. One is the cholesterol component, which is where the medical community has bet the entire ranch. Everything to them is a cholesterol issue, and they really attempt at all costs to get you on statin drugs. So there's too much emphasis on this one and not enough emphasis on the other 7. Now here's the second point to make. Of the 8 things that can cause inflammation problems, the other 7 are any one of the other 7 are a heck of a lot more important than cholesterol ever was to begin with. So I think that really meets the answer to your question. And the third, and I hope I can remember what I wanted to answer in terms of it. Oh, I think that a real good test of the 8, if you had to ask for one, is your CRP. Because that literally lets us know what kind of fire you got raging, what kind of inflammation you have. CRP, which is C-reactive protein.
Yeah, I've had the CRP. I've asked them 3 times to do the HS-CRP. They won't do that.
Well, it's the only one I would do. HS, ladies and gentlemen, stands for heart specific. And you see, You're walking into that office with a little bit too much information as far as I'm concerned, because your doctor gets startled when you request an HSCRP. He goes, hey, where did you hear about HSCRP? Now, you're allowed to tell him you heard it on the radio show here.
Well, I've mentioned your name, Dave.
Oh, I'm sure you have. And
But that's the thing. Another question, like I said, the first question would be, for like tests for A tests or tests, I guess, for showing mercury, lead, zinc. What kind of?
Okay, heavy metals. There's a challenge test. There's a way to know what you're burdened with. It's called heavy metal burden, and you do a challenge and find out what is collected in the urine. You'll get a very good idea of what your metal issue is. Come on in and see me. We need to talk. I know this voice. Come on in and see me so we can talk about it. You seem to be very educated, and you're hitting a brick wall when it comes to your doctor. How are you feeling out there, pounding your head against the wall?
Yeah, right now, I'm shortness of breath right now. Yes, I see the cardiologist Friday. And another question is, if a person has to go through, well, I know I'm going to go through, but have a replacement valve put in.
Okay.
Either bovine or the composite metal. What would be the safety of having chelation done afterwards? Because what I was told yesterday was the bovine, the latest technology is they're using bovine parts. They're trimming it and sewing it in, and they're treating it.
Well, I mean, if they switched to bovine now, that's new because it was piglet before, okay, and it was porcine. So
what they use now is the bovine tissue. They're treating it chemically. They say they're getting about 25 years. They're expecting 25 years out of these valves now.
hey, all I'll say is it's a foreign body. I don't care if it comes from an animal or not. It's a foreign body. And your body will put up, I mean, if you have to have a valve replacement, the issue is, okay, decide which valve is going to be the best, giving you the most amount of time and all that stuff. That's fine. But you said, should you do chelation? I go, absolutely, because the reaction that's going to occur is going to be heavy deposits of plaque is going to form over top of a foreign body. There's no way of getting around the fact that whatever valve gets used, it is a foreign body, and it's going to be where the vast amount of plaque ends up becoming deposited. It's a shame because the conventional medical doctor feels there's not a thing that can be done about it. That's just the way it is, when in fact there can't. So good luck to you.
So chelation can be used safely?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Okay?
Okay.
Great questions. Good luck on Friday. I guess it's when you can see your cardiologist.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. There you have it. Hey, brisk discussions today. Very intricate discussions. Hope you're picking up on these things. I heard another knock at the door. Come on the store. Hello and welcome in.
Good morning, Dr. Courtney.
Hi.
I'm wondering if you're using the oral chelation and how much success you're having with it.
Okay. The answer is I think we originated it. I think because for the longest time, I mean, chelation therapy was introduced into this country in the mid-1950s. For at least, 55 years. All that you could ever do with chelation really was IV. Now, there were some charlatans out there, some scammers out there. I remember seeing the information that tried to say, oh, no, you can do EDTA chelation by mouth. And in a way you could, because you could buy EDTA tablets. Problem, though, you only absorbed 3% of what was in the tablet, and the other 97% went right out of the body in the next bowel movement. So that was a scam. It was a con game. It was a shell game. It wasn't until the early part of the turn of the century when we finally got the fat absorbable, the fat soluble forms of EDTA, and now you can absorb as much orally as you take in by mouth. Now, it was a big turnaround. Do we do oral chelation? You better believe it. But we usually reserve it for someone who has minimal to mild deposition of plaque, and a lot of folks fit into that category. If you have major amounts of plaque, I would still recommend the IV form. It's just, do you know? Do you personally know? I say, and I'm asking the question rhetorically. You don't have to answer it. But do you know how much plaque you actually have? And that would be the place to start. Get a correct cardiovascular evaluation. Come on in to see us. You end up seeing our cardiologist, and we'll absolutely know what, by Dopplers, your deposition of plaque is. And then you can make a gauge as to whether you should be doing oral alone or whether you should be doing it in conjunction with IV chelation. But there are oral forms. You just got to make sure you're on the right one that's fat soluble. Okay?
All right, Dr. Courtney. Thank you.
You are welcome. I have a great question. Yeah, we do have oral now. By the way, with great consternation, I have to admit to this. I told my patients one time, there is no such thing as oral chelation. And, get a load of this, there's never going to be oral chelating agents. Well, I had to eat those words. They keep telling me about it, too, because they made it a fat-soluble form. So thank God for science, but I watch my words more carefully now. Hey, I hear another knock on the door. Come on in the store. Hello, and welcome in.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Courtney. How are you?
Good.
I have a question referring back to a show where you had Dr. Ingram on with the...
Cass Ingram. Yes.
I had called in had mentioned about my autistic daughter and that I was doing like a natural antifungal rotation.
I remember the call.
Yeah, so I did purchase the oil of oregano, and I have started it. After I hung up, I heard him mention something about, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, chaga mushroom.
Right. Chaga mushroom extract.
Yeah, can you elaborate on exactly how that fits into the,
sure.
You know, like what is that for?
They work synergistically. In other words, this comes from the bark of the birch tree located, listen to this, bark of a birch tree located in South America. Wow. And it turns out that these trees get attacked by various fungi, and that a part of the tree that always holds up under whatever the fungal assault is the part that has this fungus growing on it. So what they did was they extracted it, this material from the chaga material, and they bottle it. And so when you're taking oregano, which is an antifungal agent, for a fungus, you would do well to synergistically help out with the antifungal properties by using the chaga along with it. Chaga mushroom extract. We carry it here in the office, so if you have trouble finding it, just give us a call here.
Okay, so it actually just basically would help kill the yeast.
Yeah, well, you told me that you wanted to start the stuff, the oregano.
Right, and I have started it.
Okay,
I
so
started it on her, but that was sort of lingering in my mind. I wasn't sure what place that product had.
It will potentiate and synergistically accelerate the ability to kill the fungus. So it's a good combo to put together. A 1-2 punch.
Okay.
All right.
It's a 1-2 punch.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
The great Cass Singer. We're going to bring him back too. Trying to get hold of the company. We'll bring him back. I heard another knock at the door. Come on in the store. Hello and welcome in. Oh, we missed you. Son of a gun. Anybody else out there? Anybody else knocking? Guess not. It's a brisk show today. We get off on, and I'm really always pleased when the discussion moves to the cardiovascular. Look, aren't you frustrated out there? The conventional medical, I know those doctors know you well, and I don't want you to get rid of their current doctors because they're literally in your backyard. They hold the keys to the hospital and your management, but you're walking in wanting to know information. If you mention it, they're going to get upset. You need to have a parallel cardiologist, in my opinion. Let's get to these questions real quick. Next up in the store, come on in. Hello and welcome.
Courtney, Teresa here. Thank you for all your help yesterday.
Oh, yes, Teresa, it was nice meeting you. What's on your mind today, dear?
With Kim and Sandy and everybody. Here's what I'm calling for. A very dear person of mine living in Boston, Mass. called me this morning to tell me her severe problems. She's not into the natural care, and she cannot find help there. She's allowing me to write her a letter. She doesn't, I don't want to be pushy, but she's allowing me to write her a letter, and I want to just list quickly overactive bladder, she's urinating all the time, spastic colon constipation, or frequent BMs, arthritis in the neck to headache, and a right knee pain.
Oh, boy.
Now,
You got a laundry list there. Look, I probably outside the scope for me to comment on such a long list.
no, but what I mean is, like, to write her a letter, wouldn't it be reasonable if I said to her, if she would come here to Pittsburgh, people like you and others could help her with these things, couldn't they?
They could, and also, too, I mean, I have a pretty long list of the practitioners in New England.
Oh, do? You can help me get...
And I could help you locate one. So we'll do that off air sometime or when you come to the office, okay?
I can call you then.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Next up in the store, come on and welcome aboard. I heard another knock on the door.
Good morning, doctor.
Hello.
My daughter's friend has yeast in her blood and thrush on the tongue, and they say they can't help her. This is due to
They can't help her?
knee surgery. They say they can't help her.
Oh, boy.
Nothing they can do for yeast in the blood and her thrush. Due to knee surgery, and after the fact, she found out that she should have been on Coach Q10.
Oh, boy. Well, you've got a whole host of antifungal, non-prescription forms of antifungals that you can be using, even in a post-surgical case. I personally don't see a problem. I'm a little miffed with the powerful, and they do have some powerful intravenous and oral antifungals. If she's got thrush, why aren't they treating it? And you say because they can't?
They're saying they can't help her with, I guess, yeast in the blood, and then I don't know what.
Geez, well, yeah, okay.
The thrush.
Well, I'm telling you, the thrush is something that at least nystatin in the conventional realm is what had been used for years. I'm saying we just got done talking, for instance, about oregano and chagra. Okay, these are two excellent antifungals that wouldn't interfere. They're natural products that come from plant sources, and I would say at a minimum you can start those. You got intravenous agents like MSP, which is mild silver protein. You got a host of antifungals that you can use that are not prescription agents at all. But then you got the ability to use prescription agents too, which your other doctors feel that they shouldn't be using. I don't understand it. I would want to know if there's some reason why that they don't feel that they should be using those. I'm a little miffed as to why they don't want to bring in their drugs. I understand that she's got fungal infections, but why they say there's nothing to do is beyond me. If they don't know how to treat fungal infections, even with their prescription drugs, you got a real problem. Come on in and see us, please.
Well, I don't know how long she's had this, but it's something.
Oh, if she has thrush.
With the yeast in the blood.
That's right. If she's had thrush, she's had this a long time.
Would peroxide help with the thrush?
It may help as an oral rinse, but this is systemic. Has to be treated systemically. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Final quick knock. Come on in the store. Last caller. Go ahead. Oh, geez. Okay. Hey, it was fun today, folks. On Friday, gonna spin another show. Gonna do the show from last Monday, the 22nd. The first show we did with Dr. Eric Shapira. Have an enjoyable holiday weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Until Monday, Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on your health.
Dr. Courtney? Dr. Courtney?
Hello?
Okay, Dr. Courtney, you say you want to do Monday?
Monday the 22nd.
Okay.
That's Dr. Eric Shapira's first show with us.